So you're saying that if tomorrow politicians come out and say, let's freeze this conflict, let's have a peace deal, not many men on the ground will accept this.
Ваш путь в приоритете. I believe majority of people wouldn't be happy or if the war ended tomorrow. I mean, majority of men who are in the front lines on the Russian side.
A few months ago, I got a strange email. It was from someone claiming to be a member of the Russian Spetsnaz, Russia's elite special forces. He said he had been deployed in Ukraine and wanted to arrange an interview about drones. But here's what caught me off guard. The email was written in English. As we exchanged messages, I discovered that this wasn't just some regular soldier. This guy has a very unique background, which I'll explain later. But more importantly, he's part of an elite Russian unit tasked with testing cutting-edge drone technology in real combat situations. He offered to share never-before-seen footage of Russia's newest drone developments in action. But there was a catch. He asked for one thing in return, a chance to send a message to Westerners, people he feels he shares a unique bond with. I have to warn you, this man has a strong pro-Russian bias. If that's something you're uncomfortable with, feel free to click away. I mean, after all, he's in the Russian military. But if you're curious about the evolving world of drone warfare and willing to see it from a perspective we rarely hear on YouTube, stick around. All right, let's be honest. The Russia-Ukraine conflict is one of those topics where it's almost impossible to find factual, unbiased reporting. You hear one side and the other, and it's hard to know what's, really going on. That's why I'm excited to thank today's sponsor, Straight Arrow News, a platform dedicated to fact-based reporting to help you navigate the messy world of news bias. Straight Arrow News is all about reporting down the middle. One of their standout features is the media landscape showcased on many stories. You can click on those headlines and see which outlets reported on the story and where they fall on the bias spectrum, left, right, or center. They also have a section called Media Miss, which highlights stories that might have been intentionally or unintentionally ignored by outlets on both sides of the political spectrum. It's a great way to stay informed about what you're not hearing in the news cycle. My personal favorite part of SAN, though, is their Weapons and Warfare podcast. They dive into fascinating topics like America's push for AI-powered drones and UAVs running on hydrogen fuel. If you're into military tech like I am, this is a must listen. So, if you're tired of biased news and want straight facts, head to san.com/realreporter or click the link in the description. When you visit, you're not just supporting me, you're supporting a group of journalists who are raising the bar on news and putting you first. I'm on the outskirts of Moscow at what appears to be an improvised training ground where the military hones their skills in operating drones. Normally, it is not allowed to fly a drone in the Moscow region, but for these folks, the local authorities have made an exception.
It's good to have the knowledge of operating commercial drones before you go to FPV, right? But the skill set is very different. Повыше поднимаем, пожалуйста. Там сейчас там деревья, там подстегнуть можно.
You've probably guessed from his accent that he's of Russian origin, but he used to live in Canada. He says he even had a career in banking and equity research, earning $120,000 a year, which he chose to abandon at the start of the Russia-Ukraine war.
In order to grow there, to become someone important or to establish connections with people, and when they hear that you're from Russia, it's always going to be a question, oh, what do you think about Ukraine and stuff like that?
We here today standing as Ukrainians, as Canadians, as Ukrainians. We are with Ukrainian people.
In order to be friends with everyone, you need to accommodate in this stream, and it's something that went against my principles.
In Russia, he joined the military and quickly became involved with drones, an area where Ukraine held a significant advantage early in the war, striking a heavy blow to the advancing Russian troops.
I saw how efficient drones could be. I was fascinated by the amount of things, about the efficiency of how these things could be done using the drones, and I understood it's going to be something which is going to be pushed forward in Russia as well, and I wanted to be on top of this wave.
The Canadian, which is his call sign now, shared raw footage from his most recent deployment in Ukraine, where they tested some of Russia's latest drone developments. These exclusive clips, which haven't been published anywhere else, were shot by the Canadian in collaboration with an elite drone crew led by the Belarus, his longtime partner.
As you can see, there is a big explosion. We believe it's a detonation of some military equipment, or ammo of Ukrainians. As usually when you hit a house, there is not such explosion, or maybe there was some kind of like fuel storage.
Those of you following this conflict are probably familiar with FPV drones. These small UAVs, originally designed for drone racing or capturing stunning footage, have proven incredibly useful in warfare when equipped with deadly payloads. However, FPV drones, which are controlled from the ground, do have their limitations.
There is such thing as a radio horizon, right? The Earth is not flat. Maybe, like, I don't know what you believe in, but like the Earth is not flat. As you fly further and lower, like signal disappears, right?
What you're seeing on screen is one of the first documented uses of a Russian-made mothership drone. It can carry several smaller FPV drones, extending the range at which enemy targets can be hit and ensuring a stronger signal. Essentially, these mothership drones function like classic aircraft carriers.
This thing allows us to hit certain targets which could be probably covered with jammers, or some targets which are in the places which cannot be hit by FPV drone due to like radio horizon things.
Ukraine is also testing a mothership drone, the Dovbush T-10, but neither side has managed to bring their concepts into mass production yet. Mass production is key in warfare. Initially, Ukraine had an edge over Russia in number of FPVs thanks to volunteer supplies and garage-based production that mushroomed across the country. This is something Johnny Harris covered in one of his videos. But then Russia shifted into high gear and began mass-producing FPVs. This happened around the time Putin replaced his old defense minister, who had been in charge at the start of the war, with a new figure, Andrei Belousov. Unlike his predecessor, Belousov, who typically wears a civilian suit, is more of an economist. He quickly recognized the importance of drones, and Russia began producing them on an unprecedented scale. There have even been reports of entire shopping malls being closed and converted into production facilities for FPV drones. Believe it or not, the Russians even started making drones in bread factories. Before long, Russia closed the gap and even surpassed Ukraine in number of FPVs, a fact that Ukrainian officials themselves had to acknowledge at some point. But there is one area where Russia is still lagging: the number of heavy-lift drones, like the Baba Yaga. Named after a mythical Slavic witch, this repurposed agricultural drone has become a formidable asset for Ukraine and can carry a larger payload, fly higher, and stay airborne longer than a regular FPV drone.
Everybody knows about Baba Yaga and stuff like that. But as we go further into the war, like, good ideas, both sides copy good ideas of the other side.
The Canadian and his unit have been testing Russia's newest heavy-lift drone, though its name and specifications are still under wraps. They've used it to fly deep behind the front line, uncovering a temporary Ukrainian forward position concealed in an ordinary house.
So you can see there are houses, and we don't think that there are military personnel living in them. But, for example, this house across the road, there is a military personnel living.
How can you tell this?
Because there was a video of a military car driving there, and like people unloading boxes, and we can see the tracks which did not go from the road but from the backside. The cars hidden behind the trees. Civilians don't hide their cars behind, like under the trees.
They also managed to successfully hit a power substation. Typically, you'd need something large and powerful for a target like this, such as a cruise missile or an aircraft-type drone with a heavy payload, which is usually launched from a safe distance. This marks one of the first documented attacks on a strategic target using a drone operated directly from the front line.
It all began with the terroristic attack on the Crimean Bridge, and after this it was decided by both sides to hit critical infrastructure of each other. So as you can see, it's electric substation is going to be hit. The purpose of doing so is to limit the ability of military personnel to access electricity. They cannot charge their batteries, power certain devices and stuff like this. At the same time, it makes both army personnel and civilians on the other side more tired of the war.
Until recently, Russia had been playing catch-up in drone warfare. Ukraine would introduce something new and innovative, and Russia would rush to replicate it and close the gap. But that all changed with the Kursk incursion. We've been hearing that Russia is now using fiber optic drones, and some are calling it a game changer. Do you think that's true?
I mean, flying this kind of FPV drone is something like flying a drone in simulator. So you have a perfect image, you have a very fast responsive operating. For now, Ukrainians have nothing to respond.
Unlike traditional drones that rely on radio frequencies, fiber optic drones are connected to their operators through a cable. This makes them immune to the signal jamming both sides are actively using. The cable also ensures uninterrupted, high-quality video transmission right up to the moment of impact. This makes it possible to precisely target military vehicles or even individual soldiers.
You're saying it's a good thing that the Ukrainians are in the Kursk region?
I think from the military perspective, yeah, they didn't take over any important governmental or industrial complexes. So at the same time, I believe many thousands of Ukrainians are dead now because they invaded Kursk. They spent a lot of good Western equipment, which were sent to them through years. You can see the Leopard tanks burning there, the anti-aircraft systems destroyed. For what reasons? I don't know. Probably just for the PR, saying, look, we control Russian territory. And many of those good equipped, highly motivated guys died there.
There's been a lot of buzz about Donald Trump's peace plan, which could mean freezing the conflict along the current front line.
I would tell Putin, gotta settle. I would tell Zelensky, you gotta settle.
What's your take on that? Is it something that you and the guys on the ground would be open to?
I will be honest, some people in the front line want to be war ended, but the majority of people who I talk to and who I'm in contact with, they got used to this kind of warfare and this life. These risks, they result into adrenaline addiction, and it's not something that you want to end. Also, there is a factor such as a lot of our guys died, right, or injured, and you want to make revenge. Probably a lot of guys wouldn't understand such peace terms.
They were saying if, say tomorrow, politicians come out and say, hey, let's end this, we're going to freeze this conflict, we're going to have a peace deal. So your take is that not a lot of guys on the ground will, accept this?
Russian army is not tired of war. People are not tired of war. It's like a true work for a man. I believe majority of people wouldn't be happy or if the war ended tomorrow. I mean, majority of men who are in the front lines on the Russian side.